day and welcome back to our video podcast, Adult Learning and Education in Times of COVID-19. For today's episode, we are traveling to Istanbul to talk to Ayşe Öktem. Ayşe Öktem and her organization Beraberce are an important strategic partner for DVV International in implementing adult and civic education programs in Turkey. Ayşe was born in Istanbul but grew up in Germany as her parents had to leave Turkey for political reasons. After her graduation, she lived in Germany for a long time and worked in different civil society organizations. Since 10 years, she is back in Turkey, working in the field of civil society as well. In 2017, she founded the civil society organization Beraberce with other activists and professionals from civil society. Ayşe, it is a pleasure to welcome you to our video podcast.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Ayşe, to get an impression of the current situation in Turkey, could you share with us how you experienced the last weeks of lockdown in Istanbul?
It's a strange situation in Istanbul because Istanbul normally is an overcrowded city with many people on the streets with a very vibrant life. And now we have a city where you see when you go out of your house, there are some people all with masks. And when you see someone, you go to the side not to be too near to the person, and the person does do the same thing. You don't speak. You have this social distance. It's a strange situation, of course.
As I already mentioned in the introduction, your organization Beraberce is actively promoting and implementing civic education programs in Turkey. How has the corona pandemic changed your work and how did you react to the crisis?
The first thing was we implement civic education, and until now, we did the civil education in face-to-face programs. And we had a very intensive face-to-face program. We should begin in March with peace education. That would be programs for 1 or 2 days. We would be traveling very much because we had a program of peace education activities all over Turkey. And now we can't travel. We can't gather, we can't make any face-to-face education, of course. And so we had to change our whole program. So we had one online education program before this time. And so we had the infrastructure, the basis knowledge and the infrastructure to make online programs. So our work has totally changed. Okay, not what we teach or what we use in our trainings, but the methods of education have totally changed because we now are doing all our trainings online.
Many thanks. If we look at education on a meta level, what is your opinion? How will the corona pandemic change our understanding of learning and perhaps more specifically our understanding of adult education?
The first thing is, I think we must be very careful in choosing the methods because online education cannot mean we make webinars. I think in the beginning of the pandemic, all of us thought, okay, with online education, you can make a webinar, someone is speaking, the participants are listening, and maybe they will ask a question. But this is not adult education. So we have to develop programs where the participants really can participate, where they can share this process of learning. Webinars are good when I want to share only information. Then I can make a webinar. We do it also. But when I don't want only to share an information, when I want to organize a collective process of learning, as education should be, then I have to use other methods than only a webinar. I have to use interactive methods. I have to create a space of learning where everybody or where the participants can come in and share the space. This is what we are trying now with different instruments of online learning. We are trying to create a virtual space where you gather and share a process of learning. So we use methods like a Padlet. That means it's like a wall you can write on. I can show one. In the beginning, you see a wall, and every participant can write on this wall. And then you have this. This is from from our training, Freedom in the Times of COVID-19. And so you see, in the beginning, it was on this wall. And now you see that the participants have written their thoughts on this wall. You don't see the names of the participants because it's anonymous when they write, but they can write as much as they want. The interesting thing is the participants write anonymously. You don't see the names of the participants. When we, at the end of the training, spoke with the participants and made an evaluation of how they did feel in this training, they focused on this thing. They said it was anonymous to write, so I had no fear to write when I had, when I think different from the mainstream of the group. So we know it's always not so easy to say something what's against the mainstream of a group. But with this Padlet, which is anonymous, you can, without any fear, write something on the wall which is against the mainstream of the group. And these ideas which are against the mainstream are discussed in the group. So you have the chance to make a more democratic training than you would have it in a real space. So this virtual space gives you the chance of be really democratic, of include different opinions. And so these online methods give us maybe more chances than a training in real space.
Many thanks for sharing this interesting approach of organizing learning in the online world. I would now like to look at civil society. So as you are a civil society professional, what is your assessment of the future of civil society? How will the sector change after the Corona pandemic? Or to put it differently, how should it change in response to the current crisis?
Turkey is a central organized country. I think many developing countries are central organized who don't have this federative system like in Germany. The problem in this very central organized states is not only the state is centrally organized, mostly also the civil society is centrally organized. And in Turkey, we have very developed and rich regions like Istanbul, and we have developing and very poor regions. And civil society is well organized in the developed and rich regions, and civil society is not so organized in the structurally weak regions of the country. We as the civil society organizations organized in the developed regions are traveling very much. This doesn't solve the problems of the structurally weak regions that we always travel there, make our trainings, and then go back. With COVID-19, we have the chance to think about how to organize work of civil society without traveling, with using these methods of online learning, online sharing, without traveling, with gathering in this virtual space. When I look to the trainings we are conducting now, we have participants from all over Turkey. So we have participants from Batman. It's very far from Istanbul. It's in the Kurdish area. It's an area. It's a region where you sometimes can go, sometimes you can't go to Batman because of some conflicts. But now we have, in the online training, we have participants from Batman. We have participants from Kars. Kars is also very far from Istanbul. And when we began with the trainings in March, there was winter. And there were days you couldn't leave Kars because it's very cold, very snowy. But so we can, with an online training, we can reach persons in Kars and also persons in Batman. We also have participants from Paris and one participant from Syria. It would be impossible that participants from Syria will come to a training, even if we make it somewhere in Turkey near the border. So we can reach out many more people than in times before COVID. I think civil society has to change in this way, that we have to think about how to use this online methods to widen our work, to be more ecologic when not using the planes so much, to be more economically also, because with the fund, I need to make one training in, let's say, in Gaziantep, in a Turkish town near the Syrian border. With the fund I need for making one training in Gaziantep, I can make 3 or 4 online trainings. And maybe I can reach much more people with these 3 or 4 online trainings as when I travel to Antep, and my trainers travel to Antep, and there we have coasts of land and so on, and we make the training there. So I think this can be a chance for civil society to go new path, to find new path, and to make civic education more effective than it was before COVID-19, more effective and more ecologically.
Thank you so much, Ayşe, for having shared your experiences, your thoughts, observations, and examples, but also your concrete ideas and ways of dealing with the crisis today, but also in the future, how civil society and adult education learning can perhaps go out of the crisis more positively than many of us are currently looking into the future. So many thanks for this positive message.
Many thanks to you for listening to me and to us.
It has been a pleasure talking to you.
It was a pleasure for me also. Thank you.
And at this point, I would also like to mention that we received a lot of positive feedback in response to this video podcast. So we would like to thank you all for watching and sharing. And we, of course, invite you to share your comments and thoughts with us. This was the third episode of our video podcast, Adult Learning and Education in Times of COVID-19. We hope to see you next week. Stay healthy and take care of you and your beloved ones. Goodbye.
Goodbye.